Maybe you've seen these, maybe you haven't, but I thought it'd be fun to take a look back at 5 of my favorite upcycled, thrift flip, makeover type of home decor DIYs from this past year. Let's get started with today's video. So up first I have this faux window pane or window. It doesn't have any glass in it, but this was just in my decor stash. But if you do not happen to have one of these or find one at a thrift store, here's one I made. This is a much larger scale. I made this quite a few years ago, and I'm going to have a video linked for you if you want to make one of these, and you could do this on any scale depending on what size frames you used. So I'm going to start with some canvases. Now these are canvases that I took off of their frame, actually possibly from that project I just showed you a second ago, and I saved them. But you could also use a drop cloth, which is what I would have liked to use, but I didn't have one big enough. But I'm going to use the back side of the canvas because I like the more beige color of it, and it looks a little bit more like a canvas drop cloth. So I'm going to take 2 of these, and I'm going to kind of roughly cut it down to size, and then we are going to hot glue them in the middle. This part here is going to be behind the window frame. I'm going to call it a window frame, even though I know it's not a real window. So it's okay that you can, that where we are gluing this, sorry, getting tongue-tied, you won't be able to see it. Now I'm going to just kind of play with this under the frame to make sure it's looking like I want, and I'm going to do that various times throughout this, and then I'm going to pull out some rub-on transfers. I believe these are IOD transfers. These were shared with me by a friend, and I'm going to cut them out and piece them together into a design and pattern that I think is going to look good behind this window frame. Now you can get some transfers from the Dollar Tree, which I have used and loved, but they don't really have these bigger ones. Amazon definitely has a lot. Real quick, I made sure that this was where I wanted it to be under the window frame, and then I'm just using something to lay down and mark where I want to put this once I take the transfer backing off, so that I could make sure it was in the right place because I needed it to line up good with the window frame. So there are lots of places that you can get some rub-on transfers. Also, I think decoupage paper could work really good for this project, but any background, canvas, drop cloth, fabric, you could really just do a piece of fabric, I suppose, too. But I hope that this idea gives you some ideas and inspiration, and that's kind of the purpose of the videos, right? For you to get inspiration and ideas, not necessarily do the exact same thing. This project, when I thought of it, I was like, I'm determined to use only items I already have and not go out and buy more transfers, not go out and buy a canvas drop cloth. I want to use items that I already have on hand. This window frame was a decor piece. I have 2 of them, and I had them up in my house before, and I don't really have a place for them. I'm just kind of bored with them. Anyways, I'm going to find a place for it now. I think I'm going to put this in my guest room possibly. So anyways, I'm piecing these together to try to make them look like they belong together. This tail is going to go off the edge of the canvas, so I just put something underneath there so I didn't transfer onto my mat. And we're going to piece together this transfer until we have what we want. And once we do, I'm really trying really hard to make sure that this fits, that it stays exactly where I want it to be. I did trim down the edges a little bit. I honestly wish I had trimmed them down a little bit less, but I'm going to use some hot glue one side at a time and hot glue this to the back of the frame. I thought of using a staple gun, but I didn't want to worry about the staples scratching my wall in the future, so I'm just using hot glue and getting that in place. And this project was so fun for me to do. I was thrilled with how this turned out. If you are enjoying this video and like this DIY, then please give this video a thumbs up. It helps me out so very much, and I greatly appreciate your support and the interaction. Oh, I did also put some glue across the middle to just help as I was feeding it down to make sure it all stayed in place. And let me know what you think about this one. This came out exactly as I was envisioning it, which is so exciting because that doesn't always happen with DIYs, but it really came out the way I wanted it to, and it was so fun to make. This shelf here is one I've had, I'm going to say for like 15 years, and you can see it was like almost a reddish wood, and I'm pretty sure I spray painted it black at some point. I believe I got this at a rummage sale for $1. I may be wrong on that, but it was
not much more than that because I didn't spend much money at rummage sales. But I got this a long time ago, and I haven't had it up in a sign or up in my house in a long time. And I'm gonna find a spot for this. So I gave it a coat of white paint, and I'm gonna try some paint inlays. Once again, a friend gave these to me, and so I was nervous, even though I kept being told it's not that hard, you can do it. Well, once my shelf was dry, I chose where I wanted to put the paint inlays, putting a light coat of paint down. I spritzed my transfer. This is a little bit hard because I wasn't working on a flat piece. So I did my best filming it. It wasn't super easy to do anyway, just because of the angles. But gonna lay the transfer down and then just kind of press it in, dab it, flatten it. I dabbed it with a paper towel and then I let it dry. I thought the bottom of the shelf was kind of nice because you'll just kind of get a peek of it from the side, or depending on how high up the shelf goes, you'll really be able to see it. I think I might put it in my bathroom over the toilet for a place to put some extra rolls of toilet paper and maybe a little plant or something. I don't know. Then once it was fully dry, I spritzed it with some more water, dampened or pressed that in with a paper towel, and then carefully lifted it up. And I was like, it actually works. Now I will say, this is me doing the other side. I did 4 of these all together on the shelf. I'll show you. I will say that there's a little bit of a square, like where the paper was. And so I did try to sand that down. And when I first did it, I wasn't as careful as I should have been. So this is fully dry. I wanted to go back and distress these edges to bring out the black paint that was underneath. But I also was trying to sand around the print to kind of soften up the lines. And then I did go over the inlay a little bit and it smudged it, which I was kind of surprised by because I was like, it should have just been dry. So I wasn't expecting that. But you know what? When you're going for the age distress look, it all works out. I am sealing this whole piece with my DIY wax. I'm sorry, the lighting changed a lot in this video, and I'm really sorry for that. So I'm just going to seal that in with some DIY wax. I just wanted this to be a really solid piece because I was going to be putting things on and off it, and I don't know, nothing's going to really be touching where the inlays are, but we're going to seal it in with some DIY wax. You could also use some Mod Podge as well. And this is how my little shelf came out, and I was pleased with it. I loved the inlays. I knew that I didn't need to be as nervous as I was about the paint inlays, but I'm glad that I got one under my belt. I just worked with a little one, and it was very simple to do, but I love this overall, the look of this shelf, something I haven't used in a long time. I will now be using, and it's fun to repurpose old items. I'm not sure where this first vase came from. I feel like it may have actually come with an arrangement that either I received or someone else received and then they gave it to me. It is super, super lightweight. It's very deceiving in its look, but we're going to give it a makeover. I thought it'd be fun to have something much lighter in color. So my chalk paint was getting low. I'm really needing to do a restock. I'm using up a lot of stuff in this video. So I added a little bit of water, not much, just a tiny bit, to my white chalk paint. And then I'm also going to use some acrylic white paint as well, just because I wanted to use what I had and I wanted to make sure I could finish my project without having to run to the store. And then we're going to add in some baking soda, mess with that to have whatever thickness you want. We're going to just do that kind of like concrete almost look to it. I'm using a chippy brush. You can buy these at the Dollar Tree, and they just give a nice look. You'll see here. I'm going to give this a clean with some rubbing alcohol just to make sure there's nothing on this piece at all. That's just kind of a good way to give it a clean. And then I will say, we're going to just stipple this on. It's not messy, but with the baking soda and the stippling, little specks might go here and there. So I did cover my surface a little bit more than normal. I'm just going to leave it up for the future. I have a tablecloth underneath my silicone mat that I craft on, but just wanted to give that heads up. And I'm going to speed it up here, but I'm stippling it on. That helps add to the texture that the baking soda adds. And I would recommend for like the bottom of the vase, possibly just doing plain white paint and not the texture. That's your call. And you can go as far into the vase as you want based on how you think you will be styling it. And this did take 2 coats. It's going to just kind of depend, but you want to leave it on nice and thick. So it did take a little bit to dry. I did this and then ended up running to the store, doing a couple errands, and came home. I also did use my heat gun to help speed up the drying process at some point. You can also use a hair dryer at a low heat. This is a really simple way to give a piece a whole new look. Whether you're buying stuff at rummage sales or at the thrift store, or it's a hand-me-down, or for me, these are all pieces that I'm doing today that I just have had in my stash for a while. And I was getting ready to get rid of a bunch of stuff because I'm like, I don't need all of this. I don't like it as much as I used to, or I'm just bored with it. And I decided to just give them a facelift. So give that a good coat. And I did want to show you this, whether it's with baking soda or just paint maybe that you've poured out and mixed. If I'm in between coats and I know it's going to be a little while, I just take a piece of plastic wrap and gently press it in so that there's no air. And that also preserved my paintbrush as well as the paint. And I was able to come back a couple hours later and give the second coat. Here, the second coat is all dry, and it is important to seal your projects. I think a spray coat might be easier for this, but I'm going to use Mod Podge. I'm using a variety of Mod Podges because, once again, I'm trying to use up what I have. I need to go buy some new Mod Podge and some basic colors of like a chalk paint. I have plenty of acrylic paint, but we are going to give this a thick coat. You don't want to brush off the baking soda. The longer it sits, the harder it becomes, but I didn't wait that long anyway. So I just did a thick coat to get in all the nooks and crannies and just tried to brush gently and gave that a good coat and let that dry. Now I ended up using my hard coat Mod Podge at the end, which I think is really good to help protect it, but it is a glossy finish. I think I would have preferred a matte, but it's really just fine. And my final shot that I'm going to show you it isn't actually fully dry, but this is a nice large statement piece, and it looks like it's like a concrete type of material, a ceramic, and it's not. It's super lightweight. I need to locate my longer stems, which is what I would put in this vase to decorate with. So I'm just showing it to you while it's empty, but I love how this one came out, a super simple makeover. Starting off, I have this collection of succulents that I've picked up over the years from Dollar Tree and used in various arrangements, and we're going to put them all together in a single arrangement now. And I have this metal bucket. I was looking at the tag and I didn't recognize it, so maybe I got it at a thrift store, I'm not sure, along with this giant jumbo thing of jute. I bought this at a thrift store. It was brand new from Hobby Lobby, wrapped in plastic, and I think I paid $6 at the thrift store for it. So, great deal. But you can get metal buckets and jute at the Dollar Tree. You can also get metal buckets at Dollar General. I'm not sure about jute, but I was just using the things that I had on hand. But definitely Dollar Tree or less. Like, that's my budget range. I try to keep it super budget friendly. So we are going to hot glue this jute around the bucket. I did put some at the very end and just kind of twisted it together with my little finger protectors on to get that wound up nice and tight at the end. For this first bottom layer, I'm just going to take my time and make sure that it's nice and straight. And I want it all the way up to the bottom of the bucket without it hanging over because I need the bucket to lay flat. So when I get the first round done, I will stand it up just to make sure all is good before we move on. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Leanne and I enjoy sharing budget-friendly DIYs here on this channel. Most of it is home decor ideas and just like to share with you some easy and super budget conscious ways to do that. So if you would consider subscribing to my channel, I would love it. Just hit that subscribe button, and once you do, a little bell will pop up. And if you can click that bell as well, and if you're already subscribed, make sure the bell is turned on. That just helps make sure that YouTube shows you my videos. They take all of those types of things as cues that you actually want to see it. I wish it was as simple as just subscribing, but sometimes they won't always show you the videos. So hit the notification bell. And then of course, watching, commenting, and liking the videos also lets them know you like seeing my videos, and they'll keep showing you them in the future. So once I knew that that bottom layer of jute was on there nice and good and just like level and all of that, I decided, but I just continued on to do the rest of this. We're going to wrap the whole thing. I am using just whatever I had on hand, which was this little tool from the Dollar Tree to help me push the rows, I guess, of jute together just to keep it nice and tight, and do that all the way around. Once we got to the top, It somehow wasn't totally even. I guess that's just because the jute is not totally even. Some spots are thicker than another. But it worked out just fine. I went along the top rim ever so carefully, and the finger protectors do come in handy for this, and just went all the way up so that from the side you couldn't see any of the metal. And then I'm just going in with a lighter, and this is going to burn off like the extra fuzzy hairy jute. It's also going to help melt away some of the glue strings that might be hanging around. Just be careful, obviously using fire, and if the metal gets hot, so be mindful, keep fire safety in mind. And once I got it all cleaned up, I wanted to paint this. You could totally leave the bucket as is, but I wanted to paint it. So I'm using a stencil brush from the Dollar Tree and some Waverly chalk paint in white. And you need a good amount of paint to get into the jute, but I also wasn't going for a thick, heavy coating. I was good with the jute peeking through. So I'm just going to go and do this all over, really pouncing it in there so that it gets into the fibers, but being okay if there are some parts of it that are thicker than others. This would also really be cute. I mean, you could do this in any color if you wanted to go for like a more coastal theme, like an aqua or a teal would be really, really pretty, or even a soft pink, peach, coral colors. There's all sorts of things you can do, but I did white. I do tend to go for more neutrals. I do tend to have kind of more farmhouse, rustic, vintagey style, although I will say I'm not like that across the board. But just take the ideas, use it as inspiration, and put your own spin on it. So I wanted to fill this up, and I'm using a couple different kinds of little fillers, but the bottom layer you're not going to see. So the top I'm using these river rocks, and they are from Dollar Tree. And then I'm just going to poke these succulents in here until it looks the way that I want. The great thing with this, and this is why I've been able to use these succulents for so many things, is like nothing is being attached here. And I mean, you can, if you're having a hard time, feel free to, use some floral foam or something. But even then you can pull them back out. And so I can use them and make it a little arrangement. And then when I want to change it up, I can just pull them out and do something else with them again. So I love that. And it just kind of keeps changing up your decor often, still being budget friendly. So that's one of the reasons why I like to make a lot of my own stuff. But I love how this cute little arrangement came out, and it looks like a painted basket is kind of what it looks like. And yeah, I love it. Let me know what you guys think about this one down below. Do you like doing succulents? I should probably try my hand with some real succulents, but the faux ones will work for now. Up next, I have this resin piece that a friend gave to me. Something else I haven't used is resin, but I have a friend who poured some into molds for me and gave them to me, which is wonderful. So I'm going to give this a couple coats of white paint. I am going to do, maybe I only do one coat, but I'm going to do a good coat, and I'm making sure to go back in with a paintbrush and take off any excess that may puddle into the details. So I did take my time on this. If you do not have a resin piece or a clay piece, you could use any type of embellishment. If you find a pendant from a piece of jewelry, maybe at a thrift store, or an embellishment off of a Dollar Tree item that you take, that you take apart, or I don't know. There's so many different things. When you walk through the craft stores or Dollar Tree, walk down all the aisles. Okay, yeah, I guess I am doing 2 coats here. But go through all the aisles, because you just don't know where you might find something that would work. So now we are going to go in with some antique wax by Waverly, and I'm going in with a good bit of this, and I'm making sure I get into all of the nooks and crannies. And once we get this across the whole piece, we will then begin to wipe it back. What happens when you do this is that wax gets down into the grooves, and it just highlights and brings out all of those fabulous, fabulous details. When you do the wipe back, it's like the angels are singing. I don't know. It's that little moment of I don't know, sunbeams coming down. Is that too dramatic? I think that's a little too dramatic, but it's just so fun to see the transformation here. And in case you're not familiar with these products, make sure that you let the paint dry completely before you add on the antique wax. And then I am going to let that dry and then seal it in with some Mod Podge. If you are enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up. It's a simple way to help out my channel. You may be wondering what that little medallion piece is for. We're getting to it. So this is another piece I picked up at a thrift store. It was a Ray done piece. I believe it maybe was a pencil holder. I don't know, but we're going to use it as a little vase. The wording there is a little bit indented, so if you wanted to paint it, I would recommend painting it with like a textured paint, like adding baking soda to some chalk paint or something. But we're just going to cover it up. So I'm using this burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to hot glue this on. The beauty of this, I'm using some hot glue and it's going to hold well, but if I ever want to change this up in the future, all I got to do is use a heat gun and warm up that glue and it'll come right off. Now be careful, the hot glue will come through the burlap ribbon. I'm using this little silicone spatula. It's in the makeup department of the Dollar Tree. Handy tool to have, but you could use, a lot of other things as well. And we're just going to try my best to pull this tight. It didn't end up being super, super tight. The burlap ribbon has so much give and stretch to it, but it still stayed in place, so I consider it a win. Now we're going to be covering this up with the medallion. If you are going to use something smaller than like to cover this up on top, then I would say make sure to have as little overlap as possible. But because I knew that I was going to be covering it up, I wasn't worried. And then I'm layering with this lace ribbon from the Dollar Tree and just going to hot glue that on top as well. Press that in, holding it as tight as I can, and then we're going to add on this medallion. Now I was pouring the hot glue on top of it and I thought the hot glue was going to reach my finger. It didn't, but I dropped it anyway. But I'm working on this little silicone mat, so the hot glue is just going to peel right up, no harm, no foul. And we're just going to put a good amount of hot glue on here. And then I'm going to press that in nice and good. And that additional hot glue will go through the burlap ribbon to add some added contact to the piece. And then I added in some lamb's ear and styled it that way. And I love how this came out. I think it is neutral, but it's got the pretty flower. Again, use colors if you want colors. Make it your own. Do it how you like it. But I love this little vase. Let me know what you guys think about it. I did this one on such a great budget. I mean, a couple of dollars with everything combined.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you are new and if you enjoy budget-friendly DIYs. And I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.